No. Please, don't burn it, Mom, please. Her little hands trembled as she clutched at the edge of her stepmother's dress. On the other side, the woman held a small pink diary in one hand and a lighter in the other, flame flickering, cruel smile spreading. For an 8-year-old girl, that diary wasn't just paper. It was her heart, her secrets, her only bridge to the mother she had lost too soon. Every drawing, every letter, every memory of love was inside those fragile pages. And in a single second, all of it could vanish into smoke. The girl's knees hit the cold marble floor as she cried. It's all I have left of her. Her voice cracked, but the stepmother's eyes stayed hard, unblinking, almost enjoying the child's pain. Then a sound, the heavy click of a door unlocking, the echo of polished shoes across the hall. The father, the billionaire, had just returned home. But what will he see when he turns a corner? A cruel hand ready to destroy innocence? Or a daughter's final desperate plea? Backhand index pointing right if you believe no child should endure this pain. Share and subscribe this story, because silence only protects the cruel. Her name was Amara, just 8 years old, with bright eyes that still carried the light of innocence, and yet behind those eyes lived a loneliness too heavy for a child her age. She had lost her mother far too soon, but she found comfort in something small, something fragile. Her pink diary. Every night, Amara would curl up on her bed, the diary resting on her knees, and write down her feelings in uneven, childish handwriting. She would draw hearts, sketch clumsy pictures of the mother she barely remembered, and write little notes like, "Today I missed you when I saw the sunset." For her, this diary wasn't just a book. It was her secret friend, her safe place, her way of keeping her mother alive in words. The mansion she lived in was grand. Chandeliers, polished marble, golden railings. But for Amara, the beauty of the house meant nothing, because within those walls, her laughter often echoed alone. Her father, Daniel, was a powerful billionaire. He loved his daughter deeply, but his world revolved around meetings, phone calls, and business trips. He was there physically, but his time was always swallowed by work. When he did sit with Amara, he would smile, hug her tightly, and say, "I'll make more time for you, sweetheart." She believed him. She always did. And then there was her stepmother, Claire, a woman in her 30s, outwardly graceful, always dressed in designer gowns, but with a heart colder than the marble floor she walked on, to the world. She looked like a perfect wife and caring stepmother. But behind closed doors, when no one was watching, she saw Amara not as a child to love, but as a threat. Every time Daniel bent down to kiss his daughter's forehead, Claire's smile would tighten. Every time Amara whispered, "Daddy, I missed you," Claire's eyes would darken. It started with little cruelties, mocking the girl's handwriting, laughing at her drawings, criticizing her clothes. "You look messy. No wonder your father works so hard. He has to cover up your flaws." Harsh words disguised as lessons. And Amara, too small to fight back, would only lower her head, gripping her diary tighter, scribbling her sadness into its pages at night. That diary became her shield. She wrote everything. When Claire made her cry, when she missed her mother's lullabies, when she wished her father would notice. The pages absorbed every tear stain, every childish dream, every secret prayer. Yet, like all secrets, it was only a matter of time before someone else found it. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled across the mansion's polished floors, Claire wandered into Amara's room. Her eyes caught the little pink book resting on the bedside table. She picked it up, flipped through the pages, and her lips curled into a cruel smile. Every word was a window into the child's heart. Her grief, her hopes, her memories of a mother that no one could replace. For Claire, that diary was more than just paper. It was competition. Proof that no matter what she did, Daniel's daughter would always cling to the memory of her real mother. And jealousy has a way of turning even the smallest book into a weapon. From that day forward, Amara sensed something was wrong. Claire would glance at her with sharper eyes, linger around her room, and smirk whenever the little girl reached for her diary. Amara began hiding it under pillows, beneath blankets, whispering to it before she fell asleep. "Don't worry, I won't let anyone hurt you." But she didn't know that the storm was already building, that the cruelest act was still waiting. Amara's world began to change slowly, like the dimming of a light that no one notices until the room is dark. At first, the cruelties were subtle. When she brought home a picture she'd drawn of her mother, stick figures under a big orange sun, she showed it to Claire with timid pride. Claire's lips curled into a mocking smile. You still waste time drawing her? She's gone. Amara, get used to it. The words landed like stones, but Amara just lowered her gaze, clutching the picture tighter, later hiding it between the pages of her diary. Next, Claire began to make her feel small in front of others. At dinner, when Daniel finally managed to join them, Amara would try to tell her father about her day at school. Daddy, I read, the top score in class today, she'd say, eyes glowing with excitement. But Claire would cut in, her voice smooth, dismissive. She exaggerates, Daniel. The teacher probably gave her an easy one. And Daniel, tired and distracted, would nod without questioning it, reaching for his glass of wine instead of his daughter's hand. Each time it happened, Amara's voice grew quieter. She stopped sharing stories at the table. Instead, she wrote them down in her diary, long entries filled with childish joy that no one else seemed to care about. But the cruelty didn't stop at words. Claire began to invade her private space. Amara noticed her stepmother in her room more often, pretending to tidy, rearranging her toys, but always glancing toward the little pink diary on her bedside table. Once, Amara found it slightly ajar, a page folded that she hadn't left that way. Her heart sank. She pressed the diary to her chest that night and whispered, "Don't worry, I won't let her take you." Yet, the more she tried to protect it, the more dangerous the game became. One evening, when the mansion was unusually quiet, Claire confronted her. She dangled the diary in her hands, flipping the pages slowly, like a cat toying with its prey. "So this is your big secret? All these silly little words about your dead mother." Amara's face turned pale. She reached out, trembling. "Please, give it back. That's mine." Claire laughed coldly. "Yours? Everything in this house belongs to your father, including this. Don't forget that." She snapped the book shut and walked away, leaving Amara frozen, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. From that day, Amara knew her secret friend was no longer safe. She began hiding it under her pillow, then under the mattress, sometimes even inside her school bag. But Claire always seemed to know. Her smirk grew sharper each time Amara rushed nervously to check if her diary was still there. The little girl's fear began to seep into every part of her life. She stopped drawing at school. She avoided talking about her mother at all. Even her laughter became rare, fading into silence. But her diary still held every unspoken word. And then came the moment of no return. It was a Sunday afternoon. Daniel had left early for a business trip, promising he'd be home by evening. Amara sat at her desk, writing in her diary, pouring her heart out. "Daddy is too busy again, but it's okay. I'll wait. I always wait. Mommy, I miss you. Please don't let them take you away from me." The door creaked. Claire stood there, her shadow long against the floor, eyes fixed on the pink book. "Still clinging to that trash?" she sneered, stepping inside. Amara quickly shut the diary, hiding it behind her back. But Claire's hand shot out, yanking it away. "Please, no. Don't take it." Amara cried, her small body stumbling forward. But Claire was already walking toward the fireplace in the living room. Amara followed desperately, her bare feet slapping against the cold marble. "Please, give it back. That's all I have left of her." Claire turned, her face twisted with cruel delight. She held up the diary in one hand, and in the other, a silver lighter. She flicked it once, twice, until a sharp orange flame hissed alive. The room grew colder despite the fire. Amara's chest heaved, her knees buckled, but she dropped to the floor anyway, hands clasped together in a child's hopeless prayer. "Mom, please don't burn my diary. Please, I beg you." But Claire only tilted her head, watching the little girl cry as if it were entertainment. "Maybe this will finally teach you to stop living in the past." The flame moved closer, its reflection glowing against the diary's cover. Amara screamed, her voice breaking with every word. But her pleas were met with silence, swallowed by the cruel laughter of the woman above her. And in that unbearable moment, just as innocence seemed seconds away from turning into ashes, a sound split the air, the slam of the front door, heavy footsteps echoing through the mansion's grand hall. Daniel was home. The air was thick with the smell of smoke, though no fire had yet caught. The lighter hissed alive in Claire's hand, its tiny flame flickering dangerously close to the diary's fragile pages. Amara sobbed, her small fingers clawing at the hem of Claire's dress, her voice breaking into shards. "Please, don't. It's all I have left of her. Please." Her cries echoed off the marble walls, sharp and desperate, but fell into void a heart that refused to listen. Claire looked down at her with a cold smile, savoring the child's torment. Then footsteps, heavy, steady, undeniable. The sound of polished shoes striking marble, growing louder, closer. The mansion door had slammed only moments ago, and now the master of the house was home. Daniel stepped into the living room, still loosening his tie, his mind full of contracts and meetings. But then he stopped. The sight before him ripped the air from his chest. His daughter, on her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. His wife, standing above her, a lighter lit in one hand, a diary clutched in the other. For a heartbeat, he froze. His mind scrambled to make sense of what his eyes were seeing. Then, Amara's voice shattered the silence. "Daddy, please." "She's going to burn Mommy's diary." The words hit him like a knife. Every syllable was soaked in agony. Daniel's eyes flicked to the lighter, to the terror in his daughter's face, to the cruel amusement in Claire's eyes. "Claire," his voice thundered, low and sharp, "what are you doing?" But Claire only straightened her back, feigning calm. "Daniel, this child is obsessed. She clings to the past, writes nonsense, fills her head with sadness. I'm doing what's best. Burning this will free her." "Free her?" Daniel's voice cracked, louder now. His hand trembled, but not with fear, with fury. "That's her mother. That diary is all she has left. And you—" His words choked off, swallowed by a roar in his ears. Claire scoffed, trying to hold her ground. "You don't understand. She'll never move on if—" But she didn't finish. In a sudden, violent movement, Daniel strode forward. His hand clamped down on her wrist, extinguishing the lighter in a sharp snap. The diary slipped from her grasp, falling safely into his other hand. Amara gasped, rushing forward to clutch her father's leg, her tears soaking into his suit. He pulled her close with one arm, holding the diary tightly with the other. His heart raced, blood boiling as realization crashed over him. All those times he had dismissed her quiet sadness, all those moments he had missed the signs. His little girl had been suffering, begging for him to see, and he hadn't. He turned his gaze on Claire, and this time his eyes were unrecognizable. No longer distracted, no longer lenient. They burned with a fury that made her step back. "How long?" His voice was low, deadly. "How long have you been doing this to her?" Claire faltered, her mask cracking for the first time. "Daniel, she's lying. She exaggerates. You know how children—" "Enough!" His shout thundered through the mansion. Amara flinched, but his grip on her only tightened protectively. "I heard her. I saw you. Do you think I'll ever forgive you for this? For making her beg for the last piece of her mother?" Silence. The only sound was Amara's broken sobs as she buried her face in his chest. Daniel knelt down, pressing the diary gently into his daughter's hands. "Sweetheart," he whispered, his own voice trembling now. No one will ever take this from you again. Not while I'm alive." For the first time in years, tears stung his own eyes. He kissed her hair, held her close, and let the guilt wash over him. Behind them, Claire stood frozen, her arrogance crumbling. For once, the power she flaunted meant nothing. The truth had finally been seen. And in that raw, shattering moment, the house was no longer silent. It was filled with the sound of justice breaking through, carrying the cries of a child, the rage of father, and the collapse of cruelty that could no longer hide. The lighter lay cold on the marble floor, its flame long extinguished. But the damage, the kind that sears into the heart, had already been done. Daniel sat on the sofa, his daughter clinging to him as if letting go would mean losing him too. Her small hand still clutched the diary against her chest, as though she feared someone might snatch it away again. He stroked her hair, whispering words he should have spoken long ago. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have seen. I should have been here for you." Amara didn't answer. She only pressed her face deeper into his chest, her tears soaking his shirt. For the first time, Daniel felt the full weight of his absence, not in meetings missed or deals delayed, but in the quiet sobs of a little girl who had been left to fight cruelty alone. Claire stood nearby, her once perfect composure shattered. She tried to defend herself, her voice sharp, desperate. "Daniel, you don't understand. I was only trying to help. The diary keeps her trapped." But her words fell flat. The look in Daniel's eyes silenced her more than any shout could. It was a look of a man who had finally seen the truth and could never unsee it. "You call this help?" he asked, his voice low, trembling with rage. "Breaking a child until she begs for mercy? Taking away the only piece of her mother she has left? If that's your idea of love, then you don't belong in this house." Claire's lips parted, but no words came. For the first time, she looked small in the mansion she once commanded. That night, the mansion felt different. For years, it had echoed with polished silence, the hum of business calls, the clink of wine glasses. But now, it was filled with the sound of Amara's fragile breathing as she finally drifted to sleep in her father's arms, the diary safe under her pillow. Daniel sat by her bedside long after she closed her eyes. He studied the pink cover, the bent corners, the pages heavy with ink and tear stains. It wasn't just a diary. It was a testimony of everything he had missed, everything his daughter had endured in silence. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire realized there were battles no amount of money could fight and treasures no wealth could ever replace. The next morning, changes began. Claire was gone, her arrogance replaced by the emptiness of her absence. And though Daniel's world of business still demanded his time, he began to make a different kind of promise. Not the empty, "I'll make more time for you," but real, deliberate moments. Breakfast together, walks in the garden, listening to Amara read aloud from her diary instead of dismissing it as childish scribbles. Healing didn't happen overnight. Scars never vanish so easily. But step by step, Amara began to laugh again. Her diary, once a hiding place of grief, slowly filled with brighter entries, stories of picnics, bedtime talks, and the way her father finally looked at her not as a distraction, but as his whole world. And yet, beneath the joy, the memory of that night lingered like a shadow, a reminder that even in the grandest houses, cruelty can hide behind closed doors, that silence can make even the strongest child feel invisible. And so, I ask you, if you had been there that night, watching a little girl beg for the last memory of her mother, would you have stayed silent, or would you have spoken up? Because this story isn't just about Amara or Daniel or Claire. It's about us, about every child whose voice goes unheard, every injustice dismissed as exaggeration, every cruelty allowed to grow because no one dared to stop it. Backhand index pointing right if the story unsettled you. Don't let it end here. Share it. Talk about it. Because silence protects the cruel, and awareness is the first step to change.